One Zambia, One Nation. To present the main news at 19 hours on ZNBC TV, I'm Patricia Ellis. Our sign language interpreter is Samson Male. A look at the top stories in the news. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa calls for partnership between private sector players in Zambia and Zimbabwe. President Edgar Lungu says hoisting of the flag is symbolic of the respect and honor for those that wrestled power from colonialists. The Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue constitutes a committee of eminent persons to chair the national dialogue process. And also coming up in the news, Minister of Health Chitalu Chilufya has launched the island's health services to address challenges of health provision in areas isolated by water. Thank you so much for joining us. And now the news in detail. Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa has called for partnership between private sector players in Zambia and Zimbabwe for economic growth. President Mnangagwa has pledged his country's commitment towards Zambia's development agenda because of the strong bond between the two countries. The Zimbabwean president was speaking at State House in Lusaka in his keynote speech to mark Zambia's 54th independence anniversary. The theme for this year's independence celebrations is celebrating a shared future of unity, development and prosperity. Brian Mwale reports.
God bless you all. God bless the Republic of Zambia.
A blessing bestowed on Zambia by Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa as the country celebrates 54 years of independence. He is an invited guest for this year's independence celebrations, owing to strong ties between Zambia and Zimbabwe.
Let us therefore build on this strong foundation and chart our country's individual and collective future, guided by mutually beneficial interests.
With 4 bilateral agreements signed between the two countries on Tuesday, the Zimbabwean president wants effective implementation for attainment of the two countries' shared vision of being middle-income nations by 2030.
Let us scale up our trade, investment, defense, security, education, scientific and cultural cooperation. Equally important is the need to deepen the people-to-people exchanges.
President Mnangagwa has also called for private sector partnerships in the two countries.
I challenge both the public and private sectors of our two countries to partner the ongoing initiatives by our two governments. Zimbabwe is open for business. I invite Zambian business persons at every level to come and partner their counterparts in Zimbabwe.
As part of this year's investor ceremony, 18 people were honored and awarded, among them 9 doctors who successfully separated the conjoined twins from Kawambwa. Other prominent figures honored are former Chief Justice Aneo Silungwe, Zambia Open University founder Professor Dixon Mansa, and Chief Mazimawe for his commitment in fighting gender-based violence. Brian Mwale, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
And the celebrations at State House were not without music and dance. Several people took to the floor to showcase their dancing skills as they celebrated Zambia's independence. Ruth Chainda reports.
A colorful and jubilant celebration to mark 54 years of the country's freedom. They have come from all walks of life to join President Edgar Lungu and his counterpart Emmerson Mnangagwa at State House. Various activities were lined up to spice the celebrations. Several artists also took turns to entertain the crowd. And the crowd could not hold back but joined in dancing. For the freedom fighters, this brings fond memories of the struggle for independence 54 years ago. And UNIP Secretary General Alfred Banda has encouraged Zambians to uphold principles that support peace and unity in the country.
You know, Dr. Kaunda and his peers came up with the motto of one Zambia, one nation. And this is the cement which has bound the 72 or 73 tribes together.
President Lungu also presented honors and awards to 18 people that are deserving. Their celebration could not be complete without the cutting of the cake. Ruth Chainda, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
Earlier, President Lungu and his Zimbabwean counterpart Emmerson Mnangagwa led several dignitaries in laying wreaths at the Freedom Statue in Lusaka in honor of the fallen heroes. President Mnangagwa, who was guest of honor at Zambia's 54th independence celebrations, was first to lay the wreath, after which his counterpart President Lungu also laid a wreath. Patricia Banda has more.
It is a somber ceremony to remember the fallen heroes that fought for Zambia's independence. Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa was guest of honor at the 54th independence celebrations. President Edgar Lungu and Mr. Mnangagwa led several dignitaries in Lusaka in laying wreaths at the Freedom Statue in honor of the heroes. Service chiefs and diplomats accredited to Zambia also laid wreaths at the statue, with the Zambia Army Brass Band providing music. Several Lusaka residents also thronged the Freedom Statue to catch a glimpse of the two heads of state. Meanwhile, Zambia National Service Director Chaplain Colonel Henry Matifoyo emphasized the need for national unity.
Disunity is undesirable to heaven, and actually drugs development and prosperity.
Others that attended the ceremony were fourth Republican President Rupia Banda, Speaker of National Assembly Patrick Matibini, Chief Justice Irene Mambilima, and senior government officials. After the ceremony, President Lungu and President Mnangagwa shared a light moment with Mr. Banda and other officials. Patricia Banda, ZNBC News, in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, President Mnangagwa has left for his country. He was seen off by President Edgar Lungu at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Others who saw off the Zimbabwean president are cabinet ministers, security personnel, and other senior government officials. The Zimbabwean head of state was accorded a 21-gun salute and inspected the Guard of Honor. The plane carrying the Zimbabwean president took off at 16:23 hours. And at midnight, President Lungu, represented by Defense Minister Davis Chama, hoisted the flag at Lusaka's showgrounds. President Lungu says hoisting of the flag is symbolic of the respect and honor for those that wrestled power from colonialists. Bright Mkwasa reports.
This is reminiscent of what transpired on that 24th October 1964. The hoisting of the flag 54 years ago symbolized the birth of Zambia as an independent state, effectively joining a few countries on the continent that had attained that status. Just like the way the flag rose, President Edgar Lungu is confident Zambia can soar over many of its challenges. President Lungu was represented by Minister of Defense Davis Chama at the event hosted at Lusaka's showgrounds Tuesday night.
Hoisting of the national flag is a representation of the nation's resolve to forge ahead as a self-determining and liberated people to embrace a new and inclusive government under the motto, One Zambia, One Nation.
President Lungu called on Zambians to join government's development efforts with renewed vigor.
We have a capacity to overcome all the challenges that we face as a nation. In this regard, I would like to urge all my fellow Zambians to embrace the national values of love, respect for one another, unity and cooperation as we work towards achieving our goals for social and economic prosperity.
Several people defied the chilly weather to witness this ceremony as they got entertained by song and dance. Bright Mukwasa, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
And several heads of state and government have sent messages of goodwill to President Edgar Lungu on the occasion marking the country's 54th independence anniversary. In his message of congratulations, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa has expressed satisfaction with the excellent relations between the two countries. President Mnangagwa says the relations are firmly built on common history, culture and struggle against colonization, and that the two countries will continue to nurture and expand their relations for the mutual benefit of Zambia and Zimbabwe. He has also reaffirmed his commitment to working with President Edgar Lungu at regional and multilateral levels to enhance development, peace and security for the betterment of Africa and the world. And in his message of congratulations, India's President Ramnath Kovind says India and Zambia share a long history of warm and friendly relations that, under President Lungu's leadership, the relations have reached newer heights. President Kovind is convinced that after his visit to Zambia in April, the fruitful discussions held between the two countries will lead to deepening of ties in political, economic and development cooperation fields. Others who have sent congratulatory messages are Turkish President Recep Erdogan, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Kingdom of Belgium King Philippe, among others. This is according to a statement released to ZNBC News by Special Assistant to the President for Press and Public Relations, Amos Chanda. Just now we go for our first commercial break, but do stay tuned as we have more news still to come. We continue with the main news. Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services, Dora Celia, has implored parents and guardians in Eastern Province to work with the government to end child marriages and keep children in school if the country is to develop. Ms. Celia, who is also Petauke Central Member of Parliament, was speaking during the Independence Day celebrations that were held at Miju grounds in Petauke. And Minister of Justice, Given Lubinda, has called on all Zambians to maintain peace and unity as a way of honoring Zambia's freedom fighters. Zanis has details.
They have celebrated Zambia's political emancipation in style. Here in Petauke district in Eastern Province, Minister of Justice Given Lubinda and his Information and Broadcasting Services counterpart Dora Celia graced the independence celebrations that were preceded by a march past. The events also witnessed the crowning of the winner of the inter-constituency debate between two schools each from Kawata and Petauke Central constituency. Addressing the gathering, Minister of Justice Given Lubinda called on every Zambian to play a role in maintaining peace and unity.
Whoever trades tribal sentiment is going against the dynamics of our country and must be shunned. Particularly for us who aspire for political office.
And Minister of Information Broadcasting Services, Dora Celia, called on parents to partner with government in a campaign to end child marriages in the country.
Keeping the girl in school, the fight with the Royal Highnesses against early marriages, early pregnancies, osatitireke tenti pitirije kuti vana vaso wapuzire na Petauke pite pasogoro chati chizungu chose chiteze kupapala kuli vavana nichifukwa chopunzira tenti vachite encourage na vana kine onse apitirije kupunzira.
Zambia has celebrated 54 years of independence, dubbed Celebrating a Shared Future of Unity, Development and Prosperity. Matthew Zumsuka for Zanis in Petauke, Eastern Province.
Meanwhile, Southern Province Minister Edifai Hamukale says he is disappointed with the casual approach by some citizens towards important events like Independence Day, which is supposed to be celebrated by all well-meaning Zambians. Zanis has details.
Historically, 24th October was an important day for Zambia. However, some political parties, especially those in the opposition, have continued to downplay the importance of this joyous day that Zambia got independent from the colonial masters.
People have started shunning this program because of politics. When I see what is happening, I feel sad. Children, they want to know what independence means to them.
During this year's independence celebration in Choma, Southern Province Minister Dr. Edifai Hamukale called on all well-meaning Zambians to uphold the importance of this day.
Today, there has been an observed casual tendency towards celebrating Independence Day. And it is felt that perhaps looking into the future, we should introduce a law that will compel everyone to come and attend such national days which are non-political.
Mike Munkombwe, Zanis, in Choma District, Southern Province.
On the Copperbelt Province, Area Minister Jafen Mwakalombe was among hundreds of Ndola residents who turned up to celebrate Zambia's 54th Independence Day. Mr. Mwakalombe started by laying wreaths at the Freedom Square before proceeding to the council grounds to deliver his speech. Zanis reports again.
Mr. Mwakalombe, who started by laying wreaths at the Freedom Square before proceeding to the council to make his maiden speech, said government will continue investing in the youth as they are the ones with the energy to drive the nation forward.
We need to harness the unity which we have achieved so far since independence by getting united like never before, by removing barriers to unity like tribe, color, political affiliation, religious groupings, in an effort to embrace one Zambia, one nation.
And Ndola Christian Ministers Fellowship Chairperson, Reverend Chilokwa Mulenga, pledged his association's commitment to help shape the destiny of the nation.
And will continue to speak to government on issues they need to hear and not what they want to hear.
Meanwhile, the Zambia United National Freedom Fighters Association representative, John Waluka, said independence without unity was meaningless.
Freedom and independence demands hard working, discipline, tolerance, and regard to each other.
Frank Chingambo reporting from Ndola for the news.
In Wapula Province, residents of Mansa District joined the rest of the country in celebrating this year's independence. The celebrations were graced by Wapula Province Minister Nixon Chilangwa. Here's a report.
They may not have been part of those who fought for our country's independence, but they are here today to join the rest of the country in celebrating our 55th independence, as they know how important this day is for the country. And those who fought for this independence have a word for every Zambian. Meanwhile, Wapula Province Minister has called for hard work among Zambians.
Lekeni fwenga na Wapula tuikatane tuombere chapamo ama district basende molu bali bamwine mushi basende molu bali bashamfumu basende molu bali mukubombesha tuchinje obunonshi bwa Wapula Province.
This year's theme was celebrating a shared future of unity, development and prosperity. Kene Chomba, Zanis, Mansa District.
The Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue, ZCID, has constituted a committee of eminent persons to chair the national dialogue process. The eminent persons are Chief Ngawe, Senior Chief Madzimawe, veteran politician Akashambatwa Mbikusita Lewanika, and prominent lawyer Chifumu Banda, who were proposed and approved to chair the dialogue process. ZCID spokesperson Jackson Silavwe is hopeful that the national dialogue process can finally take off before the end of 2018. Mr. Silavwe says the eminent persons have since agreed to take up the assignment to reconcile the political leaders. He told ZNBC News that the eminent persons will also preside over reforms based on the 4 broad thematic areas of constitutional and institutional reforms, separation of powers, and judicial independence, tolerance, freedom of assembly, and civility in politics and electoral reforms. Meanwhile, former Minister of Finance Nganduma Gande has called on First Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda to intervene in the delayed political dialogue process. Mr. Magande was speaking when he paid a courtesy call on Dr. Kaunda in Lusaka. Here's a report.
It's a song so familiar with First Republican President Kenneth Kaunda and Zambia's call for unity in a new era of political freedom. It's also a song many love to hear when they visit Dr. Kaunda's residence. Today, former Finance Minister Nganduma Gande was on call and he requested Dr. Kaunda to intervene in a delayed dialogue process.
I want to plead that since you are still alive, can you make it your homework and your mission that you bring these 2 young people together? President Lungu must be brought to sit down with the opposition, with the Hagainde, and tell the community and tell us where they want to take Zambia.
In response, Dr. Kaunda encouraged Mr. Magande to continue contributing to the economic development of the country and urged him to transfer his economic experience to the next generation.
I'm sorry about the development of Longo and the Kosineda. Can still help us in this country to handle difficult situations.
Cindy Mlomba, ZNBC News in Lusaka.
We go for another commercial break, and coming up after that is business news. Stay tuned.
Has bemoaned the high freight costs in Zambia for export into Europe. Rose Dutoit of Managua farm in Mukushi farming block says Zambia's freight costs are 20% higher than South Africa, yet the country is closer to Europe than the latter. Brian Mwale has details in this report.
A simple fruit that grows in many people's backyards but never looked at as a cash cow. Managua Farms in the Mukushi farm block has gone commercial with passion fruits on a 10-hectare field. Rossi Dutoit has diversified from traditional commercial grain farming to passion fruits destined for Europe.
In a week, we could go as high as 35% of the demand, but then other weeks it comes down to 5%.
Rossi says the secret in penetrating the global establishing markets before venturing into production.
Identify your market. What is required in the market? Who can assist you with marketing? Where are you going with the marketing? And your window of opportunity.
The United Nations agrees with him on this.
I suppose that's actually a mistake that a lot of people make in thinking we can supply this, but without understanding what the demand is.
Yes.
If they don't really understand that somebody's going to buy it or want it.
While creating several jobs for his 41,670 plants, high freight costs have remained a huge challenge.
Our freight costs are 20% more than what they pay out of South Africa. Although we are 20% closer.
Brian Mwale, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
A tobacco farmer in a Kakanda area of Nkema district in Western Province has urged farmers to consider venturing into growing tobacco. Namakao Sikamutuma says tobacco farming can be a source of income if taken seriously. Details in this report.
54-year-old Namakao Sikamutuma is a tobacco grower in Kakanda area of Western Province. Mrs. Sikamutuma, who is also a widow, says she started growing tobacco in 2007 together with her husband who died in 2013. Through her business, Mrs. Sikamutuma has not only been able to build 2 houses in Kalomo district, but has also purchased a hammer mill and managed to put up a borehole on her farm. Since the business started, she also managed to raise 66,000 kwacha on her 2 hectares of land during last year's farming season.
Kwa boma kuna nindu ya isize ni kiturumu then hape onafaa kuna ni 3 rooms hape ya isize kuzwafate ni faa last year onafaa nilekres gayo and then izo pangisa ni boho kwa kaoma fa ploti 3,000.
According to various stakeholders in the sector, tobacco has continued to be one of the most important cash crops in Zambia. Cecilia Ziambo, ZNBC News, Nkeyema, Western Province.
Government has scaled up the farmer input support program in Mpongwe, Masaiti and Luansha in a bid to increase production and ensure food security in the country. Deputy Secretary to Cabinet E-Governance Martin Mtonga, who toured the districts, says they are part of 40 districts selected by government to grow maize to meet the reserve target. More in this report.
Government has scaled up the implementation of the Farmer Input Support Program in Mpongwe, Masaiti and Luansha to increase crop production and ensure food security in the country. Deputy Secretary to Cabinet E-Governance Dr. Martin Mtonga has visited and held meetings in the 3 districts with civil servants and stakeholders to explain government's direction for the program.
We looked at it critically and decided to identify 40 districts in the country. Now these 40 districts are the districts that contribute to the food security of this country. If these 40 districts do very well, they know that the food security of the country is okay.
In the company of directors and officials from the Smart Zambia unit at Cabinet Office, Dr. Mtonga further conducted on-the-spot checks on agro-dealers in Luansha.
We are very much ready to start the season. So the advice that I would just like to give the farmers is they should start paying now.
So we can see that in Masaiti, all the farmers are set. Here, 9,021 farmers are also set. I think the tour has yielded these positive results.
Luansha District Commissioner George Wuye, during a courtesy call paid on him at his office, says he expects improvement during the 2018-2019 farming season.
And I can safely say that we have started so far farmers have started depositing the 400 kwacha deposit that they are supposed to do.
Reporting for Zanis in Luansha District, Copperbelt Province.
Well, that's all we had for you on Business News. Thank you so much for watching.
And now the rest of the news. The island's health services has been launched to address challenges of health provision in areas isolated by water within the country. Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya says the services will be implemented on Chilubi Island, Lunga and in Chelenge districts in Luapula Province. Here's a report.
Independence gift to the people of Lunga, Chilubi Island and in Chelenge district. Government has launched the Island Health Services, which will handle all health issues on the island without being referred to the mainland. It will come with 9 health posts for Chilubi Island and Lunga district. Santa Maria Hospital in Chilubi Island will also be upgraded to a first-level hospital. This has cheered Chief Matipa. Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya launched the project on Chilubi Island and Lunga district. This was during the independence celebrations in the two districts. Dr. Chilufya also announced the creation of the first ever nursing school on Chilubi Island.
But what is new is that we are now going to introduce a nursing school at Chilubi Island.
And the two members of parliament for Chilubi Island and Luapula constituencies have welcomed this development.
As you can see, that he's got so many promises to visit. And for me, he's coming to Chilubi. The exemplary. And for me, Honorable Minister, I'm very grateful.
District district hospitalize tupata lo tu nono tuliotu ava 9 na to tulimunshila bakala bombera panga pamo.
The projects will no doubt enable people have access to health services on the islands without being referred to the mainland. Katushi Bwalia reporting from Lunga district in Luapula province.
First Lady Esther Lungu says women participation in the economic affairs of a country is a key ingredient to development. Mrs. Lungu was speaking on arrival at Bujumbura Airport in Burundi this afternoon. Here's a report.
She was welcomed in traditional Burundi style. This is how special guests are welcomed in Burundi. First Lady Esther Lungu arrived in Bujumbura slightly after 14 hours, and she just had to sample the traditional performance. Her counterpart, Denise Nkurunziza, was on hand to receive her. Mrs. Lungu is among the special guests invited to attend the first edition of the International Women Leaders Conference, which opens tomorrow. The conference is organized by the Office of the First Lady of Burundi and runs from the 25th to the 27th of October 2018. The conference has attracted 200 international guests of honor and 500 local women of influence. The First Lady of the Central African Republic has also arrived in Bujumbura. Shortly after arrival, the three First Ladies addressed the media.
This conference is about sharing skills and experiences, ideas as to how we can enhance the participation of women in the economic development in our respective countries, and for me, in our country, Zambia.
The conference has been organized to create a platform for women of destiny to share their experiences on how to improve the welfare of women in their communities. Shansa Mayani, ZNBC News in Bujumbura.
And on that note, we come to the end of the main news. We'd like to thank you so much for watching. I'm Patricia Ellis. Do join us again at 22 hours. Bye-bye for now.